and healthcare. Today, we want to talk about education. Let's go ahead and look at both candidates' plans for teaching your children. Senator Barack Obama would increase early childhood education funding. Senator John McCain emphasizes virtual schools and online education. Regarding No Child Left Behind, Obama says the goal is on target, but the program has significant flaws. McCain voted for it in the Senate and says it's just the beginning of education reform. Barack Obama wants to expand mentoring programs and give scholarships to teachers. John McCain favors bonuses for teachers who boost student performance. He also wants extra funding for states that recruit teachers near the top of their graduating class. Obama favors a $4,000 tuition tax credit. He also wants to expand Pell Grants and lower interest rates on college loans. McCain wants to simplify tax benefits and consolidate the government's financial aid program. Obama says math and science should be a national priority. His service scholarships would be for 4 years of undergraduate or 2 years of graduate teacher education. In return, teachers would spend at least 4 years in a high-need location or field. McCain favors charter schools and homeschooling, and he would give up to $4,000 to low-income students for online classes or ACT SAT prep courses. We are talking about education and the candidates' plans a little bit earlier with former Colorado Governor Roy Romer. He stuck around for us throughout Governor Sarah Palin's speech there. We sure do appreciate that, Governor Romer. You're also a former LA school superintendent and now chairman of the group called Strong American Schools. Let's get back to what we were talking about here. We've just run through the candidates' plans, Governor Romer, and I would be very curious to know what you would advise. If you were to get a phone call and they say, hey, Governor Romer, we want to know what you would like us to do. What would you first tell Senator John McCain? Then what would you tell Senator Barack Obama?
I would tell them both the same thing. And I say this as a nonpartisan head of this organization. First, I'd say keep education as a priority. The next president's going to be really pushed with the economy and the war. But I tell you, you cannot eventually succeed in either one of those unless we make education a priority. We're drifting behind the rest of the world, and we need to catch up. That's the first thing. Secondly, I would say, find a way to get uniform educational standards in this country. We have 50 different states setting educational standards. And I believe there's a way to do that without having Congress dictate it.
Tell us exactly what you mean by that. I'm really interested in that one. Are we talking test scores? Are we talking enrollment? What exactly do you mean by uniform standards there?
Well, here, look, I used to train people to fly airplanes. There's a standard of what you have to know and be able to do to fly an airplane in order to get a license. In education, the K-12, we ought to come to more common agreement upon how good is good enough. What do you need to know and be able to do at the 12th grade, and then back that down to each of the grades so that the states can, in a more uniform way, say, this is our goal. Now, let me tell you, they ought to benchmark those to the 10 best nations in the world, because on math, we're 25th from the top of 30 nations. We're far behind. We need to find a more productive educational workforce in this country if we're going to save our economy and save our democracy.
All right. Let's talk about the economy for a little bit, because obviously, as you already mentioned, the economy and the war are certainly issues that people are talking about and really concerned about as far as this particular election goes. Education has certainly, as you mentioned, sort of gone by the wayside a little bit. Let's look at the statistic that we found. A survey that was conducted in October, 500 private colleges actually showed this. 46% now are reporting that some students are halting studies or switching to part-time status for financial reasons. All right, so we're talking about tuition hikes, 529 accounts dropping, smaller grants. What's the solution for people who are talking about sending their kids to college?
Well, this is a real problem. One, we've got to make college less costly and more efficient. There is still some wasted time and wasted expense in our college education. I think it's gotten too high, too expensive. That's one thing, is to reduce the cost. Secondly, we've got to find a way to assist students through loans and grants to have the opportunity to become more productive, because it pays off. Private companies will do this. They know that in their long-term interest, they have to invest in their workforce. We need to invest in ours across America.
Do you think that the candidates will get back to the issue of education? I mean, to be fair, we've only got 6 days left. What can they do at this point?
To be frank about it, the media and the events in the last days of the campaign probably will not permit a great deal of discussion of education. But after November 4th, I tell you, the next president has got to have education as one of the top issues. We've got to improve teaching. We've got to arrive at more uniform expectations and higher expectations. We've got to keep it as a priority. It's slipped in our minds, not just as government, but as parents.
You going to work on either one of those administrations?
Oh, hey, look, you know, you never speculate. I'm doing my work. I'll just continue to do my work.
Governor Roy Romer, we sure do appreciate your time here today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Declining home